University of Washington and now was as an assistant professor at the University of Washington Business School. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello everyone. It's my honor to be a pacemaker, to be a pioneer, the first speaker at the conference. Can you all see the slides? Alright, I'll do my best to narrate. So when Alimanta reached out to me and offered to deliver a presentation, I really thought of a topic that will attract attention not only of our elder audience, but also something that will be appropriate and hopefully interesting for a younger generation. And with the widespread of generative AI tools, it provides an enormous opportunities for us as educators. At the same time, it provides lots of potential pitfalls that we need to avoid. As a person who is on a career track in teaching, I really care about the fact that education should be both accessible for all the students, at the same time it should be equitable. That is, it should be fair. No one should have an unfair advantage by using something that should not be used. And I'll provide a bit more example what do I mean by AI-based cheating, but I'll start so that it works. Alright. So, a bit of the context. So this is a preliminary study based on the course that I am teaching, I have taught in Washington State University. So I'll provide a bit of the context first. There are many institutions in the United States that are named after America's first president, and there are also lots of geographic locations, so we need to provide some clarification. Washington State is not Washington DC. It's located in the Pacific Northwest on the border of Canada and the Pacific Ocean. And to make it even more complicated, in the Washington State there are two universities that has the name Washington in it. So I graduated from University of Washington in Seattle. The mascot are Huskies. And upon my completion of graduation, I switched the colors to crimson and gray and joined Washington State University, where I currently teach courses in data analytics and statistics. So Washington State University is a land-grant university. It has 5 on-site campuses. Pullman is the primary one. Everett is the one that I teach. But it also provides an opportunity for students who have full-time jobs to complete their education while not taking break from the school. This opportunity is called WSU Global Campus, where students are taking classes completely online. This education is quite different from the typical classes where you have a professor teaching in front of you. Students basically completing their classes completely online, but in a timely manner. And it provides some challenges for us, for educators. The class that I am analyzing is the Statistics 360 class, Probability and Statistics. It's an intermediate level of statistics, requires some analysis, some knowledge of calculus. So, and it's used for different majors. And the last semester, I have been teaching this class under both setups. One for regular students, regular so to speak, the students that I guess most of you have been, going to the campus, seeing professors in class, completing exams either by paper or using software, but on site. And the class delivered completely online. And I could compare the results coming from these two different modalities. And this table, which I hope we will see in the next few minutes, provides some key results behind this. Yeah, all right, so I'll keep talking. So, some key results of the midterm exam. So we have, just focus your attention on these two columns. This is the results of the midterm. Midterm consists of 15 points. 15 is the maximum that you can get. And the mean score for the regular campuses was 10.63, so about 70% of the maximum grade. Versus the mean score for the global campus was noticeably higher. It was two full points above. And remember that it's 15, so 2 fulls is about, 13% higher. And similarly for the media. And you will also notice that the number of the students who got amazing, I literally put it in my comments score, 90% off, was 61 among the global campus students, 61%, I mean, and 13% among the on-site students, which is very weird. If we believe that the students are coming from the same population with the same intellectual abilities, their results might differ a bit, but not by this much. So perhaps global students are geniuses who do really well. That might happen indeed, but the prior results on the problem sets, on the homeworks, does not support this claim. In fact, it's the opposite. The students who are coming on site, they were doing on average better, but during exams, there is a sudden spark of brightness coming from global campus students that cannot be explained. And there is a small sample size for global campus students, only 13, but the same pattern observed on the global campus course that I'm teaching this summer term. There are 58 students, noticeably higher, and still the average scores are noticeably higher from the average scores for the synchronous class. There are also two side observations. One is that students who take exams through global campus tend to have perfect score on the multiple choice section of the exam, where you simply need to choose the A, B, C, D without providing any explanation. And when there is a problem solved section, quite a noticeable number of them submitted correct answers without providing any work. So there is a bam correct answer and no workshop, like some divine knowledge coming from them. So that's why I say that it's alleged cheating, because I don't want to have any legal consequences of my claims, so I do not have any evidence that particular student used generative AI. And secondly, it's the statistics clause. It's not an essay. You cannot use the GPT tracker, Zero GPT, to see whether the student actually used AI tool or not. We only can guess. All right, so this is the problem. Now, what we can do about it? There are several outcomes, several options where we educators can employ to fight this. The first one is something that's called honor code, which is basically preaching them, saying cheating is bad, don't do that, but in a bit more nicer terms. It's something like you see the signs if you drive on the side of the road stating don't drink and drive. Of course, it's a common knowledge, everyone knows that. Without that, you won't be able to pass the test. But still, those signs appear as the way of reminding drivers to not commit this. Similarly, I used this honor code. By signing this honor code, I acknowledge that I am a member of the learning community in Washington State University that is committed to the academic standards of respect, integrity, and I adhere to the standards while completing this exam. Namely, I did not search for answers online. That is, I didn't use Google, other searching browser. I didn't use generative AI tools, and I didn't collaborate with anyone. I'm a Washington State University student. I'm a cougar, not a cheater. Cougar is capitalized because that's the mascot of Washington State University. So, does this strategy work? Some empirical literature shows that if it is employed efficiently, then it works indeed. However, it's not a silver bullet. It cannot solve all the problem at once. And several students writing this honor code with like putting smiley faces, or like deliberately dropping one of this or few of the bullet points. Like they wrote, I did not search answers online, I did not work with anyone, but the fact that they didn't use generative AI was not mentioned there. So I guess they didn't, they used the fifth, right? They applied the fifth. And it reminds me that scene from the Bart Simpson when he was writing lots of things. I will note this on the chalkboard, I will note this, and then he was doing it again. So whether the honor code works, we cannot enforce it. We can only propose it as an option. The second option would be to make an exam extra challenging or difficult. And you can do it in a two different ways. One way is to make the questions really challenging, so that it is even challenging for the generative AI tools to find the answer quite fast. However, it creates a problem. By trying to penalize the potential cheaters, we penalize the average students, those who do not use any generative AI tools, to make an exam extremely challenging for them, which is unfair. I shouldn't be, as a student, suffering for someone else's cheating. Another option would be to actually consider alternative formats of the exam file. There are two different front pages of the, like that's multiple choice part of the midterm. Can anyone guess what are the primary difference between those two? Is there any difference from like content-wise? Do you see both left and right-hand side easily? I hope you do, right? The main difference is that the first one on the left was knitted by using LaTeX, and it created PDF file, and I could, if I wanted to, copy and paste every single line in a single second, and then put it in a generative AI tool, write a prompt, and get the answer. The second one is those PDF file then being screenshotted and placed as the pictures rather than the text. And then at this time of development of generative AI tools, it takes a bit longer time for AI to read and analyze it. At least it doesn't take a few seconds. Hence, it should potentially create some challenge for those who cheat to be able to just deliver those prompts in a generative AI. However, it's a caveat. This is against the accessibility rules. Now, according to the standards that are placed both by the federal government and by the Washington State, we as educators must make exams accessible for all the population. There are people who are visually impaired, and it's essential that the text that they are using, like in the exams, can be voiced using the text to voice different tools. And the second one on the right is completely against it. So it cannot be used. It can be just a patch to fight generative AI tools, but it's not a long-term solution. Especially if the AGI would be developed, then it will become even easier it won't be even a problem for generative AI. The third option is, which I personally don't like, is to employ proctoring. That is, the same way as students have an instructor who is watching them live while in the classroom, you can do the same thing for students who are taking their exams online. It gives me a bit of this George Orwell 1984 motives of Big Brother watching you, because it not only you must keep the camera facing you, you must make sure that your microphone is always on. Some of this proctoring employs the idea that you need to share the screen, share all the screens that you have. And exam is already a stressful environment for students. And I'm just like placing myself in the situation where not only I have to be dealing with someone watching me, but watching my every single step. That's not the way I would like to take exam. And I know that it is the case for a quite big number of students. So that's the three options that when I prompted this idea with the global campus environment that was offered. So before considering the next one, let's just reiterate on this. I'd like to make our 10 minutes. Perfect. So this is the list of the options that I provided here are, of course, non-exhaustive. That is, there are many other strategies that we can apply. But it's already a good starting point, so let me remind you again. The first one was the honor code, basically to remind students that cheating is bad and to clearly define what cheating is. Using generative AI is cheating, Google is cheating, asking someone for help is cheating. The second one is to make exam extra challenging so that it's even challenging for generative AI, but then it makes it extra challenging for the rest of the students as well. And the third one is to make it mandatory proctoring, so that someone is watching your exam taking live. Let me do a simple voting. I would like to see how many of you are support either of these options. And if you have any other ideas that you are considering, I'll be very appreciative to hear it from you, because clearly it's still something work in progress. It's very new technology, the problem is there. So how many of you think that honor code actually is important and should be employed? Raise your hands. Thank you. I'm raising my hand too here because I use this honor code. If at least it works like for several students, that means it's already digital. It cannot do bad. It's not like someone will wait a minute. I didn't know that there is generative AI. And thank you for reminding me, Professor. Now I will use it. It never works. It might be that there will be some of the students who will actually say, this is bad, let me not do it. Who thinks that creating exam too challenging so that it is even challenging for Copilot, ChatGPT, and Gemini, and all different generative AI brands would be a good idea? So basically make it like really, really tough. All right, one person. Exactly. That's a good approach too. Yeah. However, that's a challenging task in itself for the educators, especially for the introductory / intermediate level class. Maybe it is appropriate for a more advanced level class where you have to feed more like specific methods that you learn in the class, but to create a box plot, to draw like quartiles, I cannot do much about it. It's already, there is like true or false within the statistics realms.
There are some questions with ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
And you as the instructor now correct answer. You know that, for example, Gemini
Cannot, yeah. That's a good approach. I will think about that. Maybe consider some of maybe some of the questions a bit open-ended where it's not like clear black and white. Okay.
So based on certain assumptions
that I introduce in class. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Perhaps we will talk after. I really want to get like some particular examples to see how we can do this. Thank you so much for your. The third one is the proctoring. Who do you think it's okay? Who would be comfortable when being watched, monitored when working their exams? Who would be not so comfortable? Like for example, I would be honest with you, like with a lot of anxiety, I definitely would do worse than that if not. So, any other options that are not listed here? Okay, Yusuf.
Do like the midterms and finals have to be digital? Like why can't we just do paperback exams?
This, for the global campus, the whole education is delivered online. It's specifically for the environment of the online classes. Okay. Fortunately, it's like part of the deal that the students have with the Washington State University in this case, for that particular global campus students. Yes, ma'am, tell me.
For proctoring, actually, some companies, IT certification companies, they already use AI for proctoring. So you can use AI for doing that, and it will solve a lot of problems. So what we do usually, we have a laptop in the room with either laptop camera or in some cases they ask you to bring two cameras, one pointing to the keyboard. They ask you to scan the whole room with camera and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that approach is pretty good. The only thing is you need to be really technical, do not stress out. Sometimes there are technical difficulties. You know?
So you do it at the start, but not like constantly.
Well, they ask, sometimes they ask.
Like full check, right? Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, this proctoring already implies that you must have camera. If you don't camera, you cannot even do something.
You can have a hybrid system that's usually works the best when you have multiple options at the same time. You can hard code, and then the AI will detect suspicious behavior and give you countering that.
Will be like judge. Okay, that's actually one of the options I know.
The AI doing some checks is really interesting, like suspicious behavior, like statistically. Some of the IT exams, what they do, they add specifically wrong like questions, and maybe they train sometimes whatever.
Just to connect the trick, I see.
Just to confuse, you know, and if you answer to those wrong questions in the wrong way and not proper way, then they detect it.
Basically setting traps for
traps,
I see.
you are calling them
I do sometimes, like, one of the things that I do as an educator when giving the assignments for doing the consecutive semesters, I twitch the questions just a bit to see if some of the students, because I know that some students have access to the past course materials, whether they just simply copy-paste blindly without even looking to the question, and then they fall in that trap. You can do something for examples like
in some cases it helps with dumps. Some people do the dumps, right, of the questions, and with answers basically, and you can like kind of inject something like
5 minutes, Ahmed.
Dramatic question. Is it possible to revolutionize and get away from it?
That's a good approach. Just stick to it for 1 minute. We'll get there. Yes?
I guess, why are we waging war against AI?
I'm-
Like, we're using it daily in our work, right? So I think, like, I understand the students' point of view, but at the same time, the professor's point of view, so I guess, like, what's your response
So,
to that?
that's a great question. I'm not fighting against AI. It's like Don Quixote fighting against windmills. I'm fighting against AI cheating. I deliberately, if the exam is like multiple choice question, which is specifically tests students' understanding of the concept, whether that question should exist or not, that's another issue. Then the idea is like the student should know how to answer it like the same way as like, it's basically like closed book exam. However, in reality, I agree, it's important for us educators not to say students, you shouldn't use AI. It's very counterproductive. It's the same way as like, don't use Google. Go to the libraries, get the books, read them, and like do it old school. You need to know how to use generative AI ethically and efficiently. If you only know how to type the prompt and you don't even understand the results, then from the future, your future career, point-wise, what's your value? Your future employer, boss can do the same thing. Like, they don't need you as a middleman. So this here in particular, I'm trying to avoid using AI as like from the cheating. I'm completely okay with students using AI when they're working on the problem sets. And if they are specifically mentioning where it is, because sometimes also, quite often actually, AI can hallucinate, and if they are completely relying on it, they're out of it. Now, just to wrap up, is the option like, if I am to schedule to teach this global campus version of the statistics class again, I will do exactly what Chupan suggested. Revise the course assignment strategy at the first place. Right now, the total weight of the exams in the course grade is 45%. I already tried to decrease it. So 15% for midterm, 30% for the final. My plan is to make it even lower and make an emphasis for not high-stressed single-day assignments, but more for continuous works. I'm not a proponent of the idea that you can get an A just by studying for 1 week during the finals. That's a really bad approach. You won't have lots of information stuck into your long memory. I really think that you should work continuously during the entire academic term. And secondly, for the question itself, staying away from the multiple choice type of questions, but rather questions that determine, that allow educators to understand whether the student actually understanding the material, but showing their work, like maybe it's more practical applications. It's a bit challenging to do it for the intro level of statistics, but still better to consider doing that than simply running these quizzes again and again. Thank you for your listening.
Any final questions? We have 1 more minute before the next speaker starts. Thank you.
Another song.
Yeah, so if we will go back to old school when you are just like talking to a teacher, I mean like for example.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I guess it depends on the number of students in the class. If it is 60, if it is like 10 students in class, I'm completely okay to taking oral exams. That's okay. However, with the global campus, it means that this exam again should be not proctored per se, but it should be taken within a very particular time frame. For the global exam right now, students are given some time frame, let's say 4 days, like at least how it's set in my class. Then they start the take exam button, and then they must complete it for the next 60 minutes for the midterm or for the 2 hours. If it is one thing, if they can record it and then send it back to me, but then there is no interactive element. If it's like I must be there, that it requires lots of coordination. It's a bit challenging from a logistical standpoint. For small classes it's possible, for the large number of students it's almost impossible. Thank you very much. That's Matt.